Okay, so here's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna find out which dinosaurs still exist today. So get ready for this. In 65 million years or so, all of the non-avian dinosaurs will go extinct. But okay, up until then, they're going to live all across the planet. They're gonna grow in all shapes and sizes, and they're gonna be neighbors with all kinds of other animals. And some of those other animals will be the ones who outlive the dinosaurs. And in fact, some of them will actually survive mostly unchanged. All the way up until now. First off, let's start with the obvious. Birds, they're related to dinosaurs. And in fact, modern birds are technically dinosaurs. They're the only ones left. Now, if you wanted to prove this, you could just bring up pictures of Archaeopteryx. It's basically like a mix between a bird and a lizard. Or you could bring up your own chicken and point out that chickens are living dinosaurs. Well, wait, don't do that, because it turns out that you don't even need fossils to prove that birds are descendants of dinosaurs. You can just do a bit of genetic research. It turns out that the common chicken is more closely related to the mighty velociraptor than it is to other birds. And yes, it turns out that the great tyrant king, T-Rex, is also part of the bird family tree. But wait, if birds are descendants of dinosaurs, what about their ancestors? Were they also dinosaurs? Well, according to the fossil record, the ancestors of modern birds were theropods, which are a group of mostly carnivorous dinosaurs. Now, you don't have to take my word for it either, because scientists have conducted experiments to see whether they could make ordinary birds look more like dinosaurs. Using genetic editing technology, they took genes from a chicken embryo and edited them to add features that are found in theropod dinosaurs. The results were kind of creepy, to say the least. This was a bird with a dinosaur face. Okay, so that's definitely proof that birds are dinosaurs. But what about the other animals who were around at the time? Well, one such animal is the crocodile. But don't worry, before we talk about these guys, we'll give you a chance to learn about something that you can use to protect yourself from the sun, mosquitoes, and, bad vibes. Okay, so crocodiles. Yeah, they're not dinosaurs. They're not avian dinosaurs anyway, but crocodiles and dinosaurs do share a common ancestor. That would be this guy right here. It's a relative of both crocodiles and dinosaurs from about 240 million years ago. And this guy would have been pretty familiar to his modern-day counterpart. See, crocodiles have stayed relatively unchanged since they first appeared in the fossil record. In fact, when you compare a fossil crocodile from 10 million years ago to a crocodile today, it's really hard to tell the difference. This means that they managed to survive the end Cretaceous mass extinction event with very few evolutionary changes. And we think that this is because crocodiles occupied an important ecological role in their ecosystems. As apex predators, they kept prey populations in check, and in doing so, they helped maintain biodiversity. And this allowed them to thrive with very little change for millions of years. So while crocodiles aren't dinosaurs, they're certainly a type of ancient beast that still survives today. Now, we've talked about the theory that dinosaurs never died out, and there's another piece of evidence that supports it. And that would be this guy. He's called a tuatara, and he's native to New Zealand. And he's probably the closest thing that we have to a living dinosaur. Now, he's not technically a dinosaur, because he's not a reptile. He's actually a type of reptile. But this guy is a true survivor. He first appeared in the fossil record 237 million years ago, meaning that he's around 200 million years old. And despite this, he looks pretty much identical to his ancestors. In fact, when he was discovered in the early 1800s, naturalists thought that he might actually be a fossil. When they saw him move, they realized that he was alive. And there are only 2 species of tuatara alive today, and they can only be found in New Zealand. One of the reasons that he's survived for so long is that he occupies a unique ecological role. He's a generalist predator, and this allows him to adapt to different environmental conditions. Plus, the fact that he's slow-moving means that he doesn't require a lot of energy to survive, which makes him super efficient. And because of this, he's able to live for hundreds of years. Yeah, that's right. The secret to a long life is being a slow-moving lizard. But wait. It's time to move on to our next dinosaur. And this one is probably the most dinosaur-like of any bird that exists today. It's called a cassowary, and it's found in the forests of New Guinea and northeastern Australia. And let's just say that this is one bird that you wouldn't want to mess with. Sure, It doesn't look like it. But this is one tough customer. See, cassowaries have huge bodies, powerful legs, and sharp claws. And they're even able to run at speeds of 50 kilometers per hour. And because of this, they're known as the most dangerous bird in the world. And no, that's not just because they're mean. It's because they can kill you in one single kick. And if that wasn't enough, cassowaries have even been known to break human skulls. And if that wasn't enough, this bird even has a prehistoric look to it. With its bony casque and colorful face, the cassowary is truly a sight to behold. But remember, don't get too close. Now, while we're talking about huge flightless birds, let's take a moment to talk about ostriches and emus. Sure, they don't look like dinosaurs, but these two birds are actually quite similar to some non-avian dinosaurs. For example, they have long necks and small heads, and they have a distinct W-shaped neck like sauropods. And they also share a common ancestor with these guys. Plus, both ostriches and emus are huge. Both species are about 6 feet tall and can weigh more than 300 pounds. And that's bigger than most dinosaurs. The only thing that they're missing are feathers. But some scientists think that ostriches and emus actually used to be covered in feathers, and they used to fly all the way from Africa to Australia. But then they evolved into flightless birds after they arrived. Either way, these are definitely some ancient-looking giants. So what if instead of ostriches and emus, we looked at penguins? Yeah, I know they're not dinosaurs either. But they do seem like aquatic dinosaurs, don't they? Sure, they're kind of cute when you see them waddle around on land, but in the water they're graceful predators. They have sleek, streamlined bodies and powerful flippers. And they're able to swim at speeds of up to 25 miles per hour. And they also have excellent underwater vision, which helps them to spot prey. But it's not just their physical adaptations that make penguins so special. They're also super social creatures who live in groups of up to 1 million birds. And they communicate with each other using a variety of vocalizations and body language. Alright, so we've already talked about crocodiles and alligators, but let's focus on the latter. You see, alligators are very similar to crocodiles in terms of their appearance and behavior. They're both apex predators who live in freshwater habitats, and they have long snouts and powerful jaws. But there are some differences between the two. Alligators have broader snouts and more rounded teeth. And they're also more tolerant of brackish water. And once again, when we compare a fossil alligator from 10 million years ago to one today, it's hard to tell the difference. In fact, some people believe that alligators are essentially dinosaurs with feathers. After all, they share a common ancestor with theropod dinosaurs. And like crocodiles, they retained many of their prehistoric traits. They have armored skin that protects them from injury and helps them to conserve water. They have powerful jaws and sharp teeth that allow them to capture and consume prey. And they have incredible survival instincts that help them to evade predators and find food. And because of these adaptations, they've been able to survive relatively unchanged for millions of years. And finally, we have to talk about the hoatzin. This is a strange bird that's found in the rainforests of South America. And it's kind of like the weird cousin of all birds. And you might be wondering why this bird has made it onto our list. Well, it's because baby hoatzins have claws on their wings. Now, yeah, you heard me right. Claws on their wings. And this is super weird because no other bird has claws on its wings. And the only other animals that have claws on their wings are dinosaurs. And it's thought that the hoatzin is the only bird that retains this feature from its dinosaur ancestors. Now you might be wondering, why do they have claws if they can't even fly? Well, scientists aren't exactly sure, but they think that they might use them to help them climb into trees. Now, obviously, the hoatzin is not a dinosaur, but it's a reminder that the evolutionary link between dinosaurs and birds is stronger than ever. Now, keep in mind, the dinosaurs didn't die out. They evolved into birds, or at least the avian dinosaurs did. The non-avian dinosaurs went extinct 66 million years ago, but they left behind a legacy that lives on in the skies, swamps, and forests all around us. And we hope that you enjoyed learning about some of the dinosaurs that still exist today. Thanks for watching.